Welcome to the deep dive. I want you to start by just picturing a scenario.
Okay, lay it on us.
So imagine you're sitting at your desk right now. You are staring at a project that has just been stressing you out all week.
Oh yeah, we all know that exact feeling.
Right. You know the kind I'm talking about. You've got the blinking cursor just taunting you, a tangled web of dependencies, and a deadline that is entirely too close.
Too close for comfort, yeah.
Exactly. But I want you to imagine you are not alone. Pulling up a chair next to you is literally the world's top 0.000001% prompt engineer.
That is a very specific percentage.
It is, but bear with me. On the other side of you is a seasoned deep tech architect, someone who has built and, broken complex systems for decades.
Right.
And then standing right behind you, just looking over your shoulder, is a top-tier Google marketing strategist.
Okay, that is quite the team.
Right, and they are all entirely focused on helping you tackle whatever is currently on your screen. That is the level of expertise we are bringing directly to you today.
It's an incredible visual, and I actually think it perfectly captures the whole mission of what we're about to do here.
Yeah, setting the stage.
Exactly. Because we are officially moving past the basic, superficial uses of AI.
Oh, absolutely.
We are not talking about asking a chatbot to write a generic, polite email or, summarize a meeting transcript.
No, that's table stakes at this point.
Totally table stakes. Today, we are dissecting a really fascinating stack of sources to uncover how you can use AI as a true strategic collaborator.
Which is a huge shift.
It's massive. We're going to explore the actual mechanics of building complex, multi-step prompt chains. We're looking at how to write elite, human-sounding content in a world that is completely saturated with synthetic text.
Which we are all drowning in right now.
We really are.
Yeah.
And crucially, we're going to look at how to maintain your professional integrity and your data security while doing all of it.
And the stack of sources we have in front of us to do this is just incredibly rich.
Dense.
Very dense. We're pulling from internal guides developed by Google Marketing, detailing exactly how to leverage tools like Gemini and Notebook LM for really high-stakes brainstorming and risk assessment.
Which is fascinating to see from the inside.
It really is. We also have this mind-blowing, just intensely detailed masterclass on elite prompt engineering and what the author calls anti-AI writing frameworks.
The anti-AI stuff is so good.
So good. Now, that specific framework is tailored for platforms like LinkedIn, but the psychology of it, the grammatical teardowns, the rules, they apply absolutely anywhere you write.
Yeah, an internal memo, a pitch deck, whatever.
Exactly. And finally, we are anchoring all of this with Google's foundational best practices for responsible AI use.
Because you have to have that foundation.
Yeah.
And I think what ties all of these really disparate documents together is a massive paradigm shift.
How so?
Well, it's the transition from seeing AI as a neat novelty, like a parlor trick, to seeing it as a core piece of your professional infrastructure.
Right, moving from a toy to a tool.
Exactly. But to get to that architectural level, to truly wield these tools like the experts in our hypothetical scenario, we have to start with the foundational grammar of elite AI communication.
The absolute basics.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to understand how the machine actually processes our language.
So if we're building that foundation, let's look at the core framework the materials emphasize right out of the gate. They call it the 3 C's.
The 3 C's, right.
Be concise, be clear, and be consistent.
It sounds so simple.
It does. And on the surface, I'll play devil's advocate here. That sounds incredibly obvious. It sounds like, basic email etiquette you'd learn on your first day at a corporate job.
Debrief, be clear.
Yeah.
Is there an actual computational reason why this matters to an AI? Or is this just generic communication advice?
It is a great question. And the computational reality behind it is actually fascinating. Let's take the first C. Be concise.
When you give an AI a rambling paragraphs-long prompt filled with caveats and unrelated background thoughts, you aren't just giving it context. You are actively increasing the cognitive load on the model's attention mechanism.
Wait, so the fluff actually confuses it?
Entirely. Large language models weigh the importance of different words or tokens against each other.
Right, the token math.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you bury your actual request inside 3 paragraphs of fluff, you are forcing the model to expend processing power, calculating the relevance of 50 different variables, when you only actually care about 3.
Oh, wow.
A concise prompt narrows the vector space. It quite literally forces the math to focus on your core objective.
That makes total sense. You're reducing the noise so the signal can get through,
Precisely.
which naturally leads to the second C, which is be clear. The materials are ruthless about the dangers of vague requests.
As they should be.
I think we've all been guilty of this, though. It's 4 p.m. on a Friday, you paste a draft into the chat, and you just type, make this better.
The worst prompt possible.
Right, make this better. And that is a recipe for disaster.
It is, because when you tell an AI to make this better, you are opening up an infinite number of pathways.
What does better even mean?
Exactly. Does better mean more humorous? Does it mean more concise? Does it mean adding more quantitative data? Because you haven't been clear, you force the AI to make an assumption.
And we know what happens when they assume.
Right, and here's the golden rule of LLMs. When forced to make an assumption, an AI will almost always default to its statistical averages. It will give you the safest, most generic, most boring output possible, because that represents the mathematical center of its training data.
So to avoid the boring middle, you have to be highly specific.
Clear, highly specific directions are how you steer the AI away from that boring middle.
But the third C, be consistent, is where I think even seasoned professionals trip up. The sources use a very specific example that completely changed how I look at my own prompts.
The spreadsheet one.
Yes. If you start a conversation by asking the AI to analyze a spreadsheet, you have to continue calling it a spreadsheet for the entire session.
You cannot change the word.
Right. If you suddenly switch and say, okay, now look at the matrix, or pull the data from the sheet, you are actively degrading your own output.
You really are. It's counterintuitive because to a human brain, spreadsheet, sheet, and matrix in that context are obvious synonyms.
We don't even think about it.
We seamlessly map those different words to the exact same conceptual object. But an AI is doing predictive math based on patterns.
So changing the word throws off the math.
When you suddenly introduce the word matrix, the AI has to use processing power to determine if you are referring to the original object, or if you've just introduced an entirely new variable.
It's wasting cycles trying to figure out if it's a new thing.
Exactly. Every time you switch your terminology, you dilute the semantic focus of the model. Consistency in your vocabulary is the guardrail that keeps the AI's attention exactly where you want it.
Okay, so assuming we've nailed the 3 C's and the AI generates an output, how do we actually evaluate it? We don't just blindly accept it,
We're
right?
going to blindly accept it.
The materials provide 4 strict evaluation pillars to judge the response. First is accuracy. Is the information factually sound? Did it hallucinate a statistic, or is it grounded in reality?
That's the baseline.
Right. And second is bias.
And when we talk about bias here, we're looking at it operationally.
Not just political bias.
No, data bias.
Yeah.
Does the output unfairly favor one perspective simply because of a skew in its training data? For instance, if you ask for a list of historical business strategies and it only gives you examples from 20th century American manufacturing, that's a data bias.
You have to recognize when the model is artificially narrowing the scope of reality.
Exactly.
The third pillar is relevancy. Did it actually answer the specific prompt you gave it, or did it go off on a tangent and answer a question you never even asked?
Which happens a lot.
It really does. And the fourth is consistency, but this time referring to the output itself. Is the tone and the depth uniform? Or does it read like a PhD wrote the first paragraph and a confused high school student with the conclusion?
Which brings us to a massive mindset shift. It is arguably the most important conceptual leap in all of these sources.
Okay, what is it?
AI output is a starting point. It is never the final product.
Never.
The difference between an amateur and a professional is how they react to a bad first output. The amateur throws their hands up and says, well, the AI is useless. It didn't understand me.
And the professional
Iteration.
Iteration is the hallmark of that elite prompt engineer we talked about at the beginning. If the output is off, you don't start from scratch. You debug the prompt.
You treat it like code.
Right. The sources give us a core framework to troubleshoot. Persona, task, format, and context. If the result isn't right, you look at those 4 dials and you adjust them.
So maybe your task was clear, but you didn't give it a persona, so it sounded too academic.
Or maybe the context was too thin.
Another crucial iteration strategy highlighted in the materials is breaking up complex tasks.
Oh, this is a big one.
It's huge. If you ask an LLM to write a comprehensive marketing plan, analyze the competitor data, and draft the launch emails all in one single prompt, the output will be shallow across the board.
You're just asking it to do too much at once.
You are spreading its attention too thin. By breaking that massive task into smaller sequential pieces, You allow the model to dedicate its full computational power to one specific step at a time.
And it lets you check its work along the way.
Exactly. It allows you, the human, to check in and course correct before it goes too far down the wrong path.
And if the AI is still giving you answers that are too broad, the ultimate iteration tool is the constraint. You add hard walls. You tell it what it cannot do.
Negative constraints are so powerful.
They force the AI to navigate a narrower path, which usually results in much higher quality specialized output.
So if the 3 C's and those 4 pillars of evaluation are the foundation, how do we actually build the house?
Okay.
The materials hint at some advanced techniques. Specific phrases that almost act like structural scaffolding to change how the model processes logic.
Yes, let's get into the advanced collaboration piece. Now, the sources are very quick to point out that there are no magic words.
Right, no abracadabra.
Exactly. There's no secret password you can type to instantly get a flawless business strategy. But there are specific, powerful prompt phrases that force the AI to utilize entirely different reasoning paths.
They don't just tell the AI what to do. They dictate how it should compute the answer.
That is a vital distinction. Let's look at the classic example provided in the text. If you have a complex problem, you don't just ask for the final answer. You use the phrase, think step by step. First, action 1, second, action 2.
Think step by step. It's a classic for a reason.
I use it all the time, but I honestly always thought of it as just asking the AI to show its work like a math teacher would. Why does this actually improve the final answer?
It comes down to the mechanics of token prediction. Remember, an LLM does not think the way a human thinks. It doesn't hold a complex thought in its head and then write it down. It is simply predicting the most mathematically probable next word, or token, based on the context window of everything written before it.
Just guessing the next word.
Exactly. So if you ask a highly complex question and demand just the final answer, the model has very few tokens in its context window to base that massive leap of logic on.
It's flying blind.
But when you prompt it to think step by step, you force the model to generate intermediate tokens. It writes out its logic.
And then it can read its own logic.
Yes. Those intermediate tokens then become part of the context window. So by the time it gets to the final answer, it is predicting that final token based on a rich, detailed, logical progression that it just generated.
Wow.
You're essentially tricking the model into providing itself with a better map.
That is fascinating. It's using its own output as a ladder to reach a higher quality conclusion. Another set of powerful phrases revolves around setting those hard boundaries we mentioned earlier. The materials suggest phrases like, focus exclusively on revenue and do not mention costs.
That phrase is a direct counter to the model's inherent design.
Because it wants to be helpful, right?
Yes. Most commercial AI models are fine-tuned using RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback. That training makes them naturally helpful, polite, and comprehensive.
They want to cover all the bases.
They want to give you a balanced, well-rounded answer. But in business, you often don't want a balanced overview. You want a ruthless deep dive into one specific metric.
Right, I don't care about costs right now, just revenue.
So by explicitly stating do not mention costs, you are overriding its RLHF instinct to be comprehensively helpful, forcing it to allocate all its processing power to the revenue analysis.
You can also override its instinct to please you by requesting a critique. The text suggests the phrase, play devil's advocate. What is the strongest counter-argument to this?
This is so powerful.
Because again, the AI naturally wants to agree with whatever premise you feed it. If you tell it your marketing plan is brilliant, it will tell you why it's brilliant.
It's a yes man.
Exactly. Asking it to play devil's advocate turns it from a sycophant into a rigorous intellectual sparring partner.
And if you find yourself stuck in a creative rut, the materials suggest using generative expansion phrases.
Like what?
Well, instead of accepting the first draft, you ask for 3 different versions of this, optimized for different audiences. Or you zoom in and say, elaborate specifically on point 2. Provide 3 concrete historical examples that illustrate that specific point.
It's about refusing to settle for the statistical average.
Exactly.
But I want to push on this a bit. I get how iteration and these powerful phrases work for a single prompt. But what happens when a project is just too big? What happens when you hit the ceiling of what a single prompt window can handle, even if you are using all these techniques?
That is exactly where the text introduces the macro skill of prompt chaining.
Prompt chaining.
Yes. If tweaking a single prompt is like optimizing a single machine, prompt chaining is like designing the entire factory assembly line.
Okay.
You are taking the output of your first prompt and intentionally feeding it as the input for your second prompt, linking them together in a deliberate sequence.
To explain this, the materials use a brilliant, highly relatable analogy: planning a vacation to Paris.
That's a great analogy.
If you just open a chat and say, plan a 3-day Paris vacation for me, you are going to get a completely generic, exhausting itinerary that has you bouncing from the Eiffel Tower to the Louvre with no regard for logistics or your personal tastes.
It's the statistical average of a Paris trip. It's terrible.
Exactly. So instead, you build a chain.
Hmm.
Let's walk through the mechanics of it.
Right.
Prompt 1 is purely about gathering raw material. You say, I'm going to Paris for 3 days. I like modern art, lesser-known historical sites, and quiet parks. Suggest a large list of specific places I could visit.
The AI generates a tailored list, and then you curate that list.
Right. Then you move to prompt 2, the second link in the chain. You take that curated list and say, using only these specific locations, create a logical day-by-day itinerary that minimizes travel time and groups locations by neighborhood.
Now, the AI isn't brainstorming anymore. It's acting as a logistics engine, optimizing the geography.
And then comes prompt 3. You take that optimized day-by-day schedule and prompt. For each day of the specific itinerary, suggest 3 highly rated restaurants that are within a 10-minute walk of where I will be at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m.
It's a cascading workflow. The output of prompt 1, the locations, fuel the geographic logic of prompt 2.
And the optimized itinerary of prompt 2 provided the rigid temporal and spatial boundaries required for prompt 3.
You've transformed the AI from a simple answer generator into a highly structured collaborator.
Now let's map that Paris analogy directly to the business use cases our listener is facing right now. If you are in marketing, your chain isn't about museums, it's about campaigns.
Right. Prompt 1 analyzes market trends and generates 5 divergent campaign concepts. You select the best one.
Prompt 2 takes that winning concept and generates a comprehensive 6-week launch timeline with milestones.
And prompt 3 takes that timeline and drafts the specific internal communications needed to align the sales and product teams for each milestone.
If you're in sales, prompt 1 might involve feeding the AI a list of 100 prospects and asking it to score them based on specific ideal customer profile criteria.
Prompt 2 takes the top 5 scoring prospects and generates highly tailored, personalized outreach strategies for each, based on their recent company news.
Or consider operations. Prompt 1 analyzes a dump of weekly status reports to identify the core workflow bottleneck.
Prompt 2 takes that specific bottleneck and requests a step-by-step operational solution to bypass it. You are layering context over multiple deliberate attempts.
The resulting depth and utility are exponentially higher than what you could achieve in a single prompt.
Exponentially higher.
Which brings us to the practical business labs. The source materials include insights from a series of internal labs led by marketing strategists at Google.
These are so practical.
They really are. These labs take the theories we just discussed, the 3 C's, the prompt chaining, the iteration, and apply them to high-stakes, real-world corporate environments using specific enterprise tools.
Let's examine Lab 1, which focuses entirely on brainstorming and evaluation using Gemini.
The stated goal of the lab is making faster decisions, but the materials are very careful to clarify that faster does not mean rushed.
Important distinction.
The methodology is about moving systematically from lots of divergent ideas to multiple quality ideas, and finally to the right, data-backed idea.
The specific example the lab uses is brainstorming accessories for a new headphone product launch. You don't just ask Gemini, what's a cool accessory?
Right, you use it to generate 30 wild, divergent ideas.
But then, and this is the crucial step, you don't just pick your favorite. You prompt Gemini to evaluate those 30 ideas against a strict multivariable matrix.
Oh, this is the best part.
You ask it to score the ideas based on projected manufacturing costs, time to market, and alignment with the core brand values.
You are using the AI not just for ideation, but for rigorous, objective evaluation.
You are forcing your decision-making process to be grounded in multidimensional data constraints, rather than relying on gut instinct or whoever spoke the loudest in the meeting.
Which is how most decisions get made.
Sadly, yes. And while the example is a headphone accessory, you could apply this exact same evaluative matrix to software feature prioritization, or deciding which new market to enter next year.
Lab 2 might be my favorite because it positions the AI in a way most people actively avoid. The lab is about identifying hidden risks.
The premise is that you take an existing near-final project plan and you prompt the AI specifically to poke holes in it.
Poke holes is the perfect framing. Think about the reality of a massive project rollout. You have the engineering timeline, the marketing embargo, the legal review process, and the supply chain logistics.
Usually, a human team has to sit in a room for days, cross-referencing spreadsheets to find where the dependencies clash.
In this lab, you feed the comprehensive plan into Gemini, give it the context of your business goals, and explicitly instruct it to find the potential disasters before they happen.
You ask it, where's the bottleneck? If the QA testing gets delayed by 4 days, how does that cascade into the marketing launch? What team is currently acting as a single point of failure?
You are getting a comprehensive, interconnected review of a massively complex plan in minutes. It catches the overlapping dependencies that the human eye simply glosses over because we are too close to the project.
The value of that is incalculable. You are turning defensive anxiety into proactive strategy.
And the output of that risk assessment isn't just a list of problems. You prompt it to generate an updated timeline that accounts for all those moving parts and mitigates the identified risks.
Okay, let's pivot to Lab 3, because this introduces an entirely different architecture. The focus here is building a knowledge hub.
And the tool the materials highlight is Notebook LM. If you've ever been the person on a team who constantly gets pinged on Slack with questions like, hey, where is the latest branding guide? Or, what exactly did the client agree to in last week's meeting? This lab is going to fundamentally change how you work.
Notebook LM represents a shift from generative AI to grounded AI. It utilizes a process similar to A.
Retrieval augmented generation.
Right. What makes it unique is that you create a centralized hub, and you populate it only with specific documents you choose.
It could be PDFs, Google Docs, meeting transcripts, or slide decks.
Once populated, the AI does not pull from the wider internet. It only knows what is in that specific notebook. And then it allows you and your team to query that specific corpus of information using natural language.
The friction this removes from a typical workday is staggering. Imagine the onboarding process for a new hire. Usually you hand them a link to a fragmented shared drive with 50 different PDFs and say, good luck, read up.
And for the next month, they interrupt your deep work to ask procedural questions.
Exactly. With this methodology, you upload the HR policies, the team charters, the style guides, and the historical project post-mortems into a Notebook LM hub.
Now, when the new hire has a question, they don't interrupt a senior team member. They just ask the hub, what is the exact process for submitting a vendor invoice under $5,000?
And the hub provides a direct, accurate answer instantly, complete with citations pointing to the exact paragraph in the uploaded policy document.
Or think about a sales team. You could upload every single product spec sheet, every competitor analysis report, and every past successful proposal into a hub.
While a salesperson is on a live call with a client and the client asks a highly technical question about API integration, the salesperson can query the hub and get the exact approved technical response in seconds.
It ensures everyone is operating from the identical approved source of truth, drastically reducing routine interruptions and unlocking the team to move faster.
It's about using AI to manage the organizational memory, freeing the human workers to focus on synthesis and strategy.
Which serves as a brilliant bridge to our next major topic.
Yeah.
Once you have the strategy, how do you communicate it?
I am so incredibly excited to dig into this part. This is the masterclass. Writing for humans in an AI world.
It's so necessary.
The sources contain this deeply rigorous framework designed to make your writing stand out on platforms like LinkedIn, internal company blogs, or anywhere you need to establish authority. But there is a massive, delicious irony at the absolute center of this document.
The irony is profound. The document we are analyzing is itself a highly advanced, massively engineered prompt.
Right.
But the sole purpose of this hyper-complex AI prompt is to force the AI to sound less like an AI.
It's wild.
The creator is using the machine's own computational power to fight the machine's inherent linguistic tendencies.
To achieve this, the prompt creates a very specific, deeply detailed persona called the quiet architect.
The quiet architect.
The mandate for the quiet architect is to provide a different blueprint for building. This is not a loud, flashy thought leader constantly posting generic motivational quotes.
Oh, we have enough of those.
They really do. The text specifically dictates that the persona should sound like a seasoned, slightly battle-scarred engineer explaining a profound shift in technical strategy over a cup of cutting chai.
I want to dwell on that detail for a moment. Cutting chai. It is a brilliant piece of persona engineering.
Why does that specific detail matter so much?
It immediately roots the AI in the Indian business and tech ecosystem. It provides a tangible cultural anchor that dictates a specific cadence. It evokes the image of standing at a street stall outside a tech park in Bangalore, having a grounded, pragmatic conversation.
It sets a whole mood.
It forces a tone that is authoritative, highly practical, stripped of all Silicon Valley marketing hype, and deeply culturally resonant. It's the voice of someone who has actually shipped products, lost money, and learned hard operational lessons.
So what is the quiet architect actually talking about over this cutting chai? The materials outline how to translate dense, complex, deep tech concepts into relatable storytelling. The prompt provides a core baseline of machine learning principles for the persona to draw from. It starts by explaining the foundational evolution of AI.
The shift from rigid rule-based logic to modern data-driven paradigms.
Exactly.
In the old rule-based days, human programmers had to explicitly write every single logical conditional. If X happens, then do Y.
Very brittle.
But modern AI is data-driven, which means it is flexible and adaptive. The materials provide a beautiful analogy for this, perfect for explaining the concept without jargon.
Right.
It says machine learning learns the way a child learns to identify fruit.
The apples analogy.
Right. A teacher doesn't give a child a mathematical formula for the shape, color, and density of an apple. The teacher simply shows the child dozens of apples-labeled examples until the child's neural pathways recognize the pattern.
That is exactly how ML models learn from massive labeled datasets. They deduce the pattern from the data.
The source also provides a very clean hierarchy to avoid confusing terminology. It simply states deep learning, which utilizes neural networks inspired by the human brain, sits inside machine learning. And machine learning sits inside the broader, overarching concept of artificial intelligence.
But the final, most critical piece of the quiet architect's foundational knowledge is a blunt, harsh truth about the current state of the industry.
The bottleneck.
Yes. Look, we all know the basic nested doll of AI, ML, and deep learning. But what the persona uses that structure to pivot toward is the reality of the bottleneck. It's not about having the most expensive GPUs or the smartest algorithm. The ultimate bottleneck is data quality.
If you feed the most advanced deep learning model garbage data, you get garbage out. Data is the absolute choke point of modern technology.
Okay, so that's the foundational knowledge. Now let's get into the how. How does the quiet architect actually write? The text outlines a brilliant framework called Write Like You Talk.
Write like you talk.
And it starts by diagnosing a massive problem. Why does most corporate content completely fail to connect with readers?
Because it's awful.
It is. The core argument is that people's writing isn't bad because they lack vocabulary. It's bad because they are trying to sound like everyone else. They are writing in a voice they think sounds professional.
You see it every single day. The text calls out those classic tired openers. In today's fast-paced business landscape, or I am thrilled and humbled to announce, or here are 3 game-changing strategies that will revolutionize your workflow.
The source bluntly refers to this as AI slop.
And what's fascinating is that it's slop even when a human writes it, because it is entirely devoid of personality, vulnerability, and specificity. Readers have developed an absolute blindness to this kind of corporate posturing.
Instead, the framework demands that you write exactly how you would explain the situation to a sharp, competent friend over that cup of chai. It uses a great comparison to illustrate the difference. Which hook is better? Hook A. 5 tips for better productivity.
It tells you absolutely nothing. It's a commodity. Anyone could have written it.
Exactly. Or hook B. I messed up a massive client pitch last week because I was overthinking the data. Here is exactly what I learned.
Hook B wins every time because it has stakes. It's real. It's vulnerable.
The framework explicitly tells you to lead with a result, a mistake, or a measured controversy.
Lead with a result. I gained 14K followers in 2 months without posting daily. Lead with a mistake. I wasted $10,000 on ads before I figured out this funnel. Or lead with a controversy. Everyone says consistency is the only thing that matters, but I post 3 times a week and make 6 figures.
Specificity and friction beat generic polish every single time.
Every single time.
The masterclass also dives into the actual visual rhythm of the writing. It argues that structure matters immensely because of how the human brain processes information on a glowing screen while scrolling. The formula it dictates is fascinating in its simplicity. A short line, another short line, maybe a slightly longer line that untacks the technical point, then immediately back to a short line.
It creates a visual and cognitive rhythm. The text makes a profound observation. White space on a screen isn't wasted space, It is breathing room for the reader's brain.
It compares a massive, dense block of unbroken text to a rhythmically spaced post containing the exact same words. The reading experience is night and day.
If the reader looks at a paragraph and their subconscious calculates that it will require too much mental energy just to parse the grammar, they won't even start reading. They will just keep scrolling. You have to make the text visually inviting.
And now we arrive at my absolute favorite part of the entire document, the strict anti-AI constraints.
The tells.
The tells. These are the specific words and structural habits that immediately signal to a reader's subconscious that a robot wrote the post. The text contains an actual, explicitly expanded vocabulary ban. It forbids the use of words like delve, testament, tapestry.
Oh, the tapestry thing.
Right. Game changer, crucial, pivotal, intricate, vibrant, profound, fostering, garner, underscore, highlight, and the universally despised phrase, valuable insights.
Valuable insights. It's humorous to read the list, but it is based on a very deep understanding of how large language models operate. LLMs have deep-seated linguistic habits derived from their training data. When an LLM wants to sound authoritative, academic, or poetic, it consistently over-relies on those specific words.
It thinks a good essay always delves into a rich tapestry of valuable insights.
By banning those words, you force the model to find simpler, punchier, more human ways to express the thought. But the constraints go far beyond just a banned vocabulary list. They target the underlying structural tells of synthetic writing.
Let's break those structural tells down, because this is where the masterclass gets highly technical. First rule, no participle tails.
Participle tails.
You are forbidden from ending sentences with present participle phrases, words ending in ing that simply summarize the sentence you just read.
This is a massive one. AI loves to write sentences like, the new strategy improved our retention rates by 20%, making it a powerful tool for growth, highlighting the importance of data.
Why does the AI do that so much?
Because as it is generating tokens, it is summarizing its own logic stream to reinforce its context window. But real humans don't constantly append summarizing thoughts to the end of their spoken sentences. We just state the fact and move on. Banning participle tails forces the AI to stop summarizing itself.
Second rule, basic copulas only. Now, for those of us who haven't taken a grammar class recently, a copula is a linking verb. The rule states you must use direct, simple verbs like is or are. You are strictly banned from using inflated, robotic phrases like serves as, stands as, or represents a.
Again, look at the AI's tendency. It constantly tries to sound important, and it thinks the document serves as a blueprint sounds more professional than the document is a blueprint.
But serves as is weak, passive corporate speak.
Forcing the simple is immediately grounds the text. It makes it sound confident and definitive.
Third rule, no negative parallelisms. The AI absolutely loves predictable, contrasting rhetorical structures. It loves to set up a seesaw. It will say, not only is the strategy efficient, but it is also scalable. Or, it's not just about the technology, it's about the people.
It's a rhetorical crutch. The instruction in the framework is simple. State your point directly. Don't use this artificial, balanced seesaw structure to create fake momentum. If the strategy is efficient and scalable, just say, the strategy is efficient and scalable.
Fourth, and I think this is the most common tell of all, ban the rule of three. AI absolutely loves listing adjectives, benefits, or concepts in neat groups of three. The software is efficient, scalable, and robust.
The rule of three is a classic rhetorical device that has been used by humans for centuries, which is exactly why it is so prevalent in the AI's training data. But the AI overuses it to the point of absurdity. The framework states that using 2 adjectives is fine, using 4 is fine, but using exactly 3 is the ultimate AI tell.
Breaking that predictable cadence is crucial for flagging the text as organic and native to the human subconscious. Fifth rule, no. Despite these challenges' conclusions, AI models are trained to be balanced and helpful, which means they hate ending on a negative or unresolved note. They love to end everything with a neat, tidy, on the other hand, summary. The text explicitly bans ending a post or paragraph with an outline-like summary or a hedging coda. Let the thought end where it naturally ends.
And finally, there are strict formatting rules. No boldface for emphasis, no inline header vertical lists, no em dashes used as a crutch to connect unrelated thoughts, and absolutely 0 emojis.
AI models love bolding key terms and using heavy bulleted lists to structure information. By banning these visual tells, the content looks like it was tapped out natively on a keyboard by a human rather than generated in a markdown window.
It is a phenomenal masterclass in applied psychology and linguistics. But even after you've applied all these constraints and generated the text, the framework isn't done with you. Before you even think about hitting the post button, it demands you run your writing through a grueling 5-point depth check.
The quality gates.
These are the mandatory quality gates. If your text fails any of these gates, it doesn't go live.
Let's walk through the rigor of these gates. Gate 1 is the perspective split. You have to reread your post from 3 entirely distinct viewpoints: a highly skeptical CEO, a junior employee who just started last week, and a direct competitor. Does the post hold weight and offer value to all 3? If the CEO finds it naive, or the junior employee finds it incomprehensible, or the competitor thinks it reveals nothing of substance, you must revise it.
Gate 2 is the confidence score. This is brutal. You have to look at every single factual claim, every assertion you make in the piece, and rate it from 1 to 10 based on your own internal confidence. If a claim scores below a 7, the rule is absolute. You either add concrete proof, you cite a verifiable source, or you delete the claim entirely. You do not output unsubstantiated assertions just because they sound good.
Gate 3 is the specificity audit. You physically count the concrete data points, the hard numbers, or the specifically named historical examples in your post. The rule requires a minimum of 3. If you have fewer than 3 concrete metrics, your post is deemed too vague and theoretical. You have to go back to the drawing board and add the numbers that ground your theory in reality.
Gate 4 is the so what test. After every single paragraph, you have to stop and aggressively ask yourself, so what does the reader actually do with this information? If a paragraph is just theoretical atmosphere or philosophizing and isn't directly actionable, you kill the paragraph.
The materials emphasize that in a professional context, readers do not care about theory, they care about systems. They want you to show them the template, the process, the exact steps. They want do this, then do this, not you should consider exploring the paradigm of this.
And finally, Gate 5, comment seeds. Before you even publish the post, you must write 3 thoughtful, substantive comments that you could theoretically leave on your own post. This serves 2 vital purposes. First, it preloads depth for the platform's algorithm, showing that the topic generates complex discussion. But more importantly, it gives your other readers a template for high-quality engagement. You are actively inviting them to share their own operational experiences, rather than just clicking like.
It's an intense, incredibly rigorous system. It takes the act of writing a simple LinkedIn post and turns it into a disciplined exercise in structural engineering. And this deep level of discipline leads us perfectly into our final section. Section 5, the human in the loop and responsible AI best practices. After everything we've talked about, the prompt chaining, the 3 Cs, the evaluation matrices, the anti-AI writing frameworks, we arrive at the most crucial piece of the puzzle.
It really is the most crucial part.
AI can be an astoundingly powerful collaborator. But as the Google materials explicitly state, it does not have your real-world experience, your specific company context, or human common sense.
That is the vital truth that underpins all of this. Maintaining a human-in-the-loop approach isn't just a basic safety precaution to prevent typos. It is the absolute core of professional integrity. The foundational documents emphasize that using AI responsibly isn't about memorizing a rigid, static set of rules. It is about building and exercising the professional judgment that enables you to catch issues early, protect your organization's data, and deliver work that you can proudly and legally stand behind.
And a massive part of exercising that judgment involves protecting sensitive information. The materials give very practical, highly actionable steps for keeping data secure, especially when interacting with public LLMs. First, use generic placeholders. If you are analyzing a project plan, do not use the client's actual name or the unannounced product code. Use Client A or Project X.
Second, frame your prompts around the task that needs to be done, not the people involved. The AI does not need to know that Sarah in the accounting department is struggling to reconcile the Q3 spreadsheet. It simply needs the mathematical formula to fix the error in the data. You extract the human element before you input the problem. Third, input only the specific relevant context needed to complete the task. Do not lazily dump entire unredacted financial documents into the chat window just to save yourself 3 minutes of copying and pasting.
And a step that I think a lot of people miss, but the text heavily emphasizes: clear the AI's memory. The materials advise giving the AI a clean slate regularly by starting new chat sessions.
That's vital for preventing context window bleed. If you spent the morning analyzing a highly confidential merger, and then in the same chat window you ask the AI to draft a public blog post, the model might accidentally synthesize details from the confidential merger into the public draft because it's all in the same active memory. Clearing the memory protects your privacy and prevents unrelated hallucinations.
Beyond just privacy, the sources dive into strict regulatory and compliance boundaries. If you work in industries like finance, legal, or healthcare, you are operating under intense legally binding regulations regarding how decisions are made and how data is handled. The text poses three crucial questions you must ask yourself before deploying AI in these spaces. First, does this task have regulatory requirements? Managing medical records or filing SEC documents has specific handling laws that an AI cannot magically bypass.
Second, are there licensing or credential requirements? The text makes it crystal clear. An AI is not a substitute for advice from qualified licensed professional. You cannot use it to give definitive legal counsel or medical diagnoses. And the third question is the most important one you will ask yourself. Who is ultimately responsible for this output?
The answer is always the human. You are the one putting your name on it. You are responsible for the inputs you choose to give the AI, and you are fully responsible for the outputs you choose to publish or send to a client.
Because you hold that ultimate responsibility, the text emphasizes the absolute necessity of building an auditable process. This isn't just bureaucratic busywork, it's how you demonstrate professional integrity and protect yourself. You must track your sources, clearly distinguishing in your own notes between what the AI generated, what the original data source was, and what your own original human contributions were.
Right. If your boss, or worse, an auditor, comes to you and asks, "How exactly did you reach this conclusion in the report?" You cannot just say, "Gemini told me." You need to be able to walk them through the exact chain. You need to say, here is the raw data I inputted, here is how I prompted the AI to analyze it, here is the output it gave me, and here are the specific human validation steps I took to verify that output against our internal metrics. You have to document your verification steps, especially for important high-stakes deliverables.
To help cement all of this operational security, the text provides the ultimate cheat sheet, the ACT checklist, a CT. This is the mental framework you should run through every single time you use AI for a professional task.
Let's break down that ACT checklist. A stands for ask yourself. Ask yourself, is AI even the right tool for this task? Am I relying on it for legal or financial advice when I absolutely shouldn't be? Is the data I'm about to input actually safe, anonymized, and approved to use? Am I following my specific company's rules regarding enterprise tools versus public open source tools?
C stands for check before you use. This is the verification phase. You must independently check the output for accuracy, verifying names, historical statistics, and quotes against trusted external sources. You must check for bias, ensuring the AI isn't presenting an unfairly one-sided argument based on skewed training data. You must check for appropriateness. Does a highly formal academic response actually fit the tone of a casual Friday team update? And you must check for originality and judgment. Are you actively editing, synthesizing, and adding your own unique expertise, or are you just lazily copying and pasting?
And finally, T stands for tell people. Be transparent. Clearly and appropriately disclose where and when AI was used to help generate content or analyze data. Be compliant with your specific company's guidelines on AI disclosure. The overarching message of the ACT checklist and this entire section is that responsible AI use isn't just about avoiding a PR disaster or a typo, it is about leading with professional integrity.
It is the ultimate difference between letting the tool use you, letting it flatten your ideas into generic statistical averages, and you mastering the tool to elevate your own structural capabilities.
What an incredible, expansive journey this deep dive has been. We started at the absolute bedrock, mastering the computational grammar of the 3 Cs, being concise, clear, and consistent, and understanding the vital mindset shift of continuous iteration. We learned the mechanics of advanced collaboration, utilizing phrases that force deeper token prediction, and building multi-step prompt chains to tackle massive workflows, just like planning the perfect, highly optimized Paris vacation.
From the ground up.
We looked at how the marketing strategists in the Google materials utilize enterprise tools like Gemini and Notebook LM to run rigorous brainstorming matrices, uncover deeply hidden project risks, and build grounded knowledge hubs that unblock teams and eliminate routine friction. We took a grueling, brilliant masterclass in the quiet architect persona, learning how to strip out the artificial AI slop, eradicate participle tails and the rule of 3, and write with deep, grounded human resonance, backed by the unforgiving 5-point depth check.
And we anchored everything in the absolute necessity of professional integrity, data security, the auditable trail, and the human-in-the-loop philosophy of the ACT checklist.
So I have to ask you, the listener, looking at the projects, the looming deadlines, and the specific challenges sitting on your desk right now, which piece of this framework are you going to implement first? Are you going to build a complex prompt chain to tackle that massive research project? Are you going to run your next important internal memo through the 5-point depth check and see if it survives?
As you consider exactly how you're going to apply these tools, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. It's something that struck me deeply when analyzing that fascinating quiet architect writing framework. The entire premise of those strict anti-AI constraints, banning the perfect parallelisms, forcing simple verbs, dictating unpredictable sentence lengths, was to force the machine to mimic human writing by incorporating our natural messiness. We are actively instructing the most advanced computational engines in human history to avoid perfectly balanced, mathematically optimal structures and instead to use idiosyncratic, slightly jagged sentence structures that a pure algorithm would consider suboptimal.
Yeah.
If the ultimate mark of high-quality, authentic human-generated thought is its messiness, its idiosyncrasies, and its flat refusal to follow perfect structural rules, what does it mean for our future that we are now having to actively engineer and precisely prompt our machines to artificially replicate human imperfection?
Wow. That is definitely something profound to think about the next time you are staring at a blinking cursor, trying to find exactly the right words. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep questioning everything, keep experimenting with these incredible tools, and we will see you next time.